Hello, Ryan. How's it going? Good. I hope you're doing good today, because I'm feeling great. I am feeling awesome. I am a little sad, though. Crystal is in Colorado. Her brother is getting baptized, which is awesome. So, Kyle, congrats, dude. Um, yeah, so I'm a bachelor this weekend. Had one of my coworkers over last night, and we had some good conversation. Had some pizza that I left in the oven for too long, so it was really dry. I told him I ruined Crystal's pizza. I promise you it's really good when it's fresh and not ruined by me. But yeah, sorry that this is so late. Last week when you posted your video, I was in Colorado. And then when I got back, it was just so busy with work. And I worked Thursday night. I worked yesterday. Got there super early yesterday, and then I worked this morning. So I am exhausted in that way, but I'm feeling good. Sorry if I'm looking down. That's where my laptop is because I'm recording this on my computer, but through my phone camera. So it's like, I see myself down here. It's kind of weird. I hope the volume's okay. I'm trying to move the mic further away from my mouth because I feel like it picks up the movement of my lips. So I turned down the gain a little bit, the sensitivity that is. I'm going to talk a little louder. Maybe I can boost it in post. I'm trying to monitor it as well. I think I can hear it pretty well. Maybe I should do a sound check. Sound is looking good as far as I can tell, so that's good, I think. Um, Anytime I barely touch the microphone, it's like an explosion is going off. Yeah. Thank you for your excerpt of Faulkner's acceptance speech. Um, your analysis was spot on. Um, Mankind, like individual humans, we are mortal, but as a species, we will continue to live on. And writers and creators have duty to remind people why we are here. Because I feel like the creative process is like the ultimate form of, how do I put this? I feel like after all of our work is said and done, the thing that will remain is our creativity. So like we find ways to meet our other goals or our, to meet our other means and our needs and desires. And then after that, it's creativity. What are we going to leave to the next generation? What are we going to build upon? What are we going to leave for them to build upon? And that is the creative process. So in that way, our work can stand, I don't want to say eternally, but it can stand immortal. So, yeah, that's that. Um, I do have a couple things to say to you. Today's, we'll talk about this here in a second. I'll cut up my battle with my notes. Okay. First, I gotta be honest. You look tired. And I can tell that you are putting in a lot of work. So let me assure you that our 20 or so listeners can make do if you take a Saturday off. I know that you're working 2 jobs and doing all and then writing on top of that and recording these videos and things. So it's okay to take a Saturday off. You can just text me, hey, can't do a video this Saturday. Maybe I can fill in for you. Who knows? Would it be weird if I responded to myself if I did 2 videos in a row? That'd be weird. Um, yeah. Also, I couldn't help but smile when I saw Lewis in the video. Like the fact that he joined the video was just awesome. Like, as you know, Crystal and I are jealous that of that parenting experience that you and Hannah have, or are living, I should say. Um, we're not jealous in a bad way, but in a healthy way. Like, hey, that's what we desire. Um, we want the chance to be parents one day, the opportunity, the gift of parenthood, so to speak. So yeah, it was good to see Lewis and hear his contributions. He's always welcome to join uh, and participate. So yeah, just those are 2 things I wanted to tell you. It's okay to be tired. Um, Today I'm going to share a letter. Yeah. Uh, as most of you know, if you read the stuff that I send out in the blog, dltucker.substack.com, The Modern Quest, you get, I let you know every week what I'm reading. So I've been reading Amazing Grace, which is the story of William Wilberforce and the heroic campaign to abolish the slave trade. Not not slavery, but they were trying to at least abolish the trade of slaves. And yeah, so while I've been reading this, I found this letter. It's a letter that John Wesley, who I believe was a preacher, sent to William Wilberforce. It was received by William in 1791, approximately 2 months before Wilberforce brought his second bill of abolition, which is to say his second attempt. He brought this bill before the House of Commons. So, yeah. But here's the letter that John Wesley sent him. I'm going to start reading before it to give it a little context. Less than 2 months before this, however, on the 24th of February of that year, Wilberforce received a letter that must have seemed to him in the moment he opened it an historic document. It was from John Wesley, then 87 and only a few days from death. It was probably the last letter he wrote. Dear Sir, unless the divine power has raised you up to be as Athanasius contra mundum, I see not how you can go through your glorious enterprise in opposing that execrable villainy which is the scandal of religion, of England, and of human nature. Unless God has raised you up for this very thing, you will be worn out by the opposition of men and devils. But if God be for you, who can be against you? Are all of them together stronger than God? Oh, be not weary of well-doing. Go on, in the name of God and in the power of his might, till even American slavery, the vilest that ever saw the sun, shall vanish away before it. Reading this morning a tract wrote by a poor African, I was particularly struck by that circumstance that a man who has a black skin, being wronged or outraged by a white man, can have no redress. It being a law in our colonies that the oath of a black against a white goes for nothing. What villainy is this? That he who has guided you from youth up may continue to strengthen you in this and all things, is the prayer of, dear sir, your affectionate servant, John Wesley. One day I'll have a proper desk to record these at. I was going to record it at work today, but my office is super small and not treated, and there's just so much ambient noise. Like, I already have a lot in here, but, yeah. So, 2 months later, after this letter, the bill that Wilberforce brought before the House of Commons failed. It was his second attempt, and it failed utterly. So it must have been pretty devastating for Wilberforce. He was already taking a stance, a not very popular stance, but he had seen the evidence firsthand. Well, not exactly firsthand. He had seen so much evidence of the atrocities of that slave trade, which I wrote about a little bit just yesterday, actually. Though it was just awful what they were doing to people. So, and it was seen as he saw it as his second mission in life to destroy the slave trade, that it would be no more. So it must be defeating, especially after having read a letter like this. I don't know what Athanasius contra mundum. I know Athanasius was, I guess he was like a person who was like a theologian, religious leader of like the 3rd century in Alexandria, and it looks like he was exiled multiple times because of his beliefs in base. From what I understood reading his Wikipedia article, which we know is the most accurate, it said that he like held to beliefs in the Bible, I guess, and he was like exiled for it. I don't know that much about it. But the phrase after that, contra mundum, means defying everyone else. So it says, unless divine power has raised you up to be as Athenius contra mundum. So in the same way that Athenius was against everyone else. I see not how you can go through your glorious enterprise in opposing that execrable villainy, which is the scandal of religion, England, and of human nature. So he's basically saying, unless God has given you this task, it will not be possible. But, if God is for you, who can be against you? Are all of them together stronger than God? Oh, be not weary of well-doing. Go on in the name of God and in the power of his might, till even American slavery, the worst slavery, shall vanish away before God's power. If God is on your side, like you've already won the battle. That's what he's saying. And I can't help but think of Gamaliel's argument in Acts chapter 5 when he says, let me encourage you, the Sanhedrin, not to do anything to these men. We have seen other people claim to be a savior, but once that savior died, his followers vanished and the movement became nothing. So that's what will happen to these men, unless their movement is from God. And then if it's God's movement, then it's the right movement, so we should let it. So by doing nothing, we can figure out if their movement is good or bad, of God or not. So Wilberforce had a very tough time with his movement because being anti-slavery was, he was in the minority of political beliefs at the time. And that was so hard to face, that public tearing down of his reputation. However, just because everybody believes that something is right, just because everybody says that you're wrong, doesn't mean that you're actually wrong. Just because everybody is repeating the same lie doesn't suddenly make that lie true. Just because everybody else has a wrong stance doesn't make you the right. Just because everybody else has the wrong stance doesn't make you wrong. They can still all be wrong. So there's power, not necessarily power in number, but power in that if you do what's right, then you know it's and you know it's right in your heart and that God has ordained it for you, it doesn't matter what human forces you find yourself against. And then next we have the racism about the. So a lot of people will say like slavery wasn't about race necessarily, and originally it really wasn't when the slave trade began, but it quickly became about racism when, someone with black skin didn't have the same legal standing, basically, as a white man. And it's just such an atrocity that he who has guided you from youth may continue to strengthen you in this and all things, is the prayer of, dear sir, your affectionate servant, John Wesley. He who has guided you from youth up, that would be God, may continue to strengthen you in this movement, in your stance. Hey, if this isn't God's purpose for your life, you're going to fail. But if it is, then you will succeed. But the bill failed. And by the time that the bill failed, John Wesley was already dead. After this letter, it goes on, Wilberforce would have remembered the words of this letter many times in the years and battles ahead, not least during the defeat of that April. What an encouragement it must have been to read those words from the battle-scarred veteran who had fought the good fight and run with patience the race and had kept the faith. Just before entering his rest, he had, as it were, extended his hand to his spiritual son and handed him the baton for this particular leg of the race, contra mundum. And so William Wilberforce now ran, cheered on by a great and growing cloud of witnesses. So his stance originally was so unpopular, but over time it just became more popular because as people saw the atrocities, as the evidence became more and more clear, people started to change their opinions. And it wasn't necessarily the politicians, but the people of England. And as we know now, eventually those politicians had to represent the voice of the people that they were supposed to be representing, regardless of their business positions in pro-slave trade areas such as the West Indies, America. They had to vote in I don't know what year it was eventually struck. The slave trade was originally brought down and then made illegal by the end of Wilberforce's life. But it began so small. His movement was so small, and it seemed like he was just one person standing against the tide. But eventually, he won. So, all that to say, things might take a long time to start. But we cannot despise humble beginnings. We have to move through our lives with perseverance. We have to take the responsibility of our life's calling, of our life's task, of the purpose of our life. We have to take that with responsibility. We have to persevere and move forward with it and take that perseverance as a sign of doing the right thing. Jesus says, they will hate you because they hated me. So we need to consider that hatred pure joy, as James would say. It's endurance, and it'll test our faith, and that is the blessing that we receive from God. And we might fail, but if we fail doing the right thing, it's better than not trying at all. That's all I have today. See you next time on Speeches and Stories, Lyrics and Letters.